The morning sun barely pierced the gray Berlin sky as Emily Brooks tugged her worn coat tighter around her shoulders. Sophie's small hand gripped hers, fragile but determined, as they stepped out onto the cobblestone street. Emily's heart ached with the weight of the day ahead. Not just the chores at the Harris mansion, but the ever-present worry for her daughter's health. Every cough from Sophie was a sharp pang of fear, a reminder that time and money were luxuries they didn't have. Inside the opulent Harris mansion, Emily moved like a shadow. 3 years of unwavering service, polishing silver, managing schedules, caring for Sophie's needs during her visits, had gone unnoticed by Christina Harris, the wife whose world revolved around appearances and possessions. Emily had always known her place, silent, efficient, invisible. But she had never imagined that invisibility could turn into accusation. It happened in a heartbeat. Christina had screamed, her voice slicing through the air like shattered glass. "Where is it?" "The ring. The ring is gone." Emily froze, heart hammering. I don't know, Mrs. Harris," Emily stammered, her voice trembling. "I didn't take it." Christina's eyes narrowed. "Don't lie to me, Emily. That ring was worth 50,000 euros. Emily shook her head, desperate. "I swear, I don't know where it is. I haven't touched it." But Christina didn't listen. By noon, Emily had been handed a letter, curt and final. Terminated, effective immediately. No investigation, no chance to defend herself, just an abrupt end to the job that had been her lifeline. She left the mansion in her uniform, her hands shaking, heart hollow. The streets of Kurfürstendamm stretched before her like a river of strangers, bustling, laughing, oblivious to her despair. She found a bench and sank down, clutching her bag to her chest as tears blurred the busy streetlights into streaks of color. She felt like the city had swallowed her whole, leaving nothing but shame and fear behind. Emily's thoughts raced. How would she pay for Sophie's treatments now? How could she explain this to the one person she needed to protect? Every step forward felt impossible. From behind the tinted glass of a sleek black car parked across the street, Andrew Harris watched. He had been driving past, planning a quiet morning, when he noticed her. A woman in uniform, trembling on a bench, crying softly, utterly alone. Something in her expression made him pause. She wasn't guilty. He could see it. Her honesty screamed in the slump of her shoulders, the frantic worry etched across her face. Something Christina had failed to notice. Emily stood, gathering herself as the bus approached. She couldn't afford to stay here, to fall apart. But just as she stepped forward, a hand gently touched her arm. "Wait," a calm, deep voice said. Emily froze, turning to meet eyes that were curious, steady, and kind. "I think I can help you." Her first instinct was to step back. Who was this man? Another stranger? Another disappointment waiting to happen? I don't know you," she whispered, voice catching. "You don't need to," he said softly. "Just trust me. I know what happened, and it wasn't your fault." For the first time that morning, Emily felt something she hadn't in days, a flicker of hope. Emily's breath caught as she stared at the man standing beside her, the city's hum fading into a quiet, tense pause. Her bag felt suddenly heavier in her hands, weighed down by fear, disbelief, and exhaustion. I don't understand," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. You don't even know me. Why would you? Help me. The man, Andrew Harris, offered a small, steady smile. I think I do, he said. I saw what happened. I know you didn't take the ring. Sometimes people jump to conclusions, but that doesn't mean the truth isn't there. Emily blinked, uncertain whether to laugh or cry. Trust wasn't something she gave lightly, especially not to someone from a world that had just thrown her out like garbage. But something about the way he looked at her, honest, unassuming, and surprisingly gentle, made her pause. I don't know. I can't just take a job from a stranger, she muttered. You won't be a housekeeper anymore, Andrew continued, his tone calm but firm. I want to offer you a position as a manager at one of my companies. A real job, with pay that can take care of your daughter, and you, without fear. Emily's chest tightened. Her mind spun. A manager? Her life has been cleaning houses and watching over Sophie, not this. Her hands shook as she clutched the strap of her bag. I don't have experience in business. Experience isn't everything, Andrew said. I've seen enough to know you have the skills that matter. Judgment, empathy, problem solving. I can teach the rest. The bus groaned to a stop behind them, doors sliding open. Emily glanced at it, a symbol of routine and escape. But her gut told her this moment was bigger. Fear clawed at her chest. She wanted to run, to sink back into anonymity, to hide in the small life she already knew. But Sophie's face flashed in her mind, pale but brave, counting on her to survive, to fight for stability, for love, for something more than fear. Why are you doing this? She asked, voice trembling. Andrew hesitated for a heartbeat, then said simply, because someone needs to see the truth. And sometimes, doing the right thing is more important than appearances, or fear. Emily nodded slowly, as if letting the words sink in. She could feel a strange flicker of hope, fragile but insistent, like sunlight through storm clouds. The bus doors closed behind her, leaving the street behind. She took a deep breath. Okay, she said finally. I'll try. The corporate office was nothing like the Harris mansion. The walls weren't lined with marble or gilded mirrors, but with glass partitions and fluorescent lights that buzzed softly overhead. Employees glanced curiously at Emily as she walked in, her uniform long gone, replaced with a simple but professional blouse and slacks. She could feel their skepticism in the polite smiles, the quiet whispers. Andrew introduced her to the team. This is Emily Brooks, he said. She's joining us as the new operations manager. Emily forced a smile, nodding to colleagues who didn't quite meet her gaze. Operations manager. She had to remind herself to breathe. She had never even managed a household staff, let alone an entire department. But Andrew's eyes met hers across the room, calm and encouraging. That look alone gave her a spark of courage. The first few days were chaos. Files were misplaced, schedules overlapped, and old systems creaked under inefficiency. Emily's frustration bubbled, but she refused to let it control her. She started reorganizing workflows, talking to employees individually, listening. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the office began to respond. Productivity rose. People started to relax. Meanwhile, Sophie's treatments became more regular and effective, thanks to Emily's newfound income. Seeing her daughter smile after a doctor's visit made every anxious moment worth it. Each small victory, both in the office and at home, reinforced Emily's confidence. 2 weeks later, a problem arose. A major project was behind schedule, and tensions were high. Emily noticed that communication breakdowns were the root cause. She called a meeting, addressed the team honestly, and proposed a new workflow that balanced efficiency with empathy, a style she had learned raising Sophie and running a household. Her approach worked. The project got back on track. Colleagues started trusting her judgment. For the first time in months, Emily felt like she belonged somewhere, and more importantly, like she could finally breathe again. And through it all, Andrew watched quietly from the sidelines, offering guidance when needed, but letting her shine. The spark that began at the bus stop was growing. Trust, respect, and the faint beginnings of something deeper. The spring air was crisp, carrying the scent of blooming flowers across the Harris estate. Emily walked through the garden with Sophie by her side, her daughter's laughter light and unrestrained, a sound that had become a rare and treasured melody over the past months. For the first time in what felt like forever, Emily allowed herself to believe that life could feel steady, even joyful. But even amidst this calm, a tension lingered. The memory of Christina's accusation still haunted her, a shadow of injustice that had once threatened to topple everything. Emily had proven herself at the company, earning the respect of colleagues and financial stability for Sophie. Still, vindication had been incomplete until today. Christina, flustered and embarrassed, came rushing through the garden. "Emily!" she cried, voice tinged with panic. "The ring! I found it!" Emily froze, watching as Christina held out the missing piece of jewelry, her hands shaking. It had been lost in the flower beds, misplaced in a careless moment, and now returned. Relief and disbelief washed over Emily. All the shame, all the doubt that had shadowed her life, suddenly dissolved in a single instant. She had been right. She had always been right. Christina's face turned pale. Guilt and regret were etched into every line. Andrew appeared beside Emily, observing quietly. There was no anger in his eyes, only a calm sense of justice served. Christina's carelessness had cost her more than a ring. It had fractured trust, nearly destroyed a marriage, and shown the consequences of thoughtless assumptions. In the office, Emily's presence was now a stabilizing force. The workflows she implemented ran smoothly, employees looked to her guidance with respect, and morale was higher than it had ever been. She had taken a job offered in kindness and turned it into a mission of competence and care. At home, Sophie's health had stabilized. Regular treatments, proper nutrition, and Emily's unwavering attention made the difference that money and opportunity had promised. Watching her daughter laugh freely in the garden was a daily reminder of what she had fought for. Andrew, who had first seen her despair on a cold Berlin street, now stood beside her not just as an employer, but as a partner in life. Trust had grown between them, built on honesty and shared purpose. Their bond was quiet but profound, a partnership formed not from attraction alone, but from respect, loyalty, and shared values. Months passed, and Emily and Andrew's relationship deepened naturally. Their love was grounded, steady, and mutual, free from the pressures of status or pretense. Together, they created a home where Sophie thrived, a family built on trust and care, rather than fear or obligation. Emily reflected on the long, painful journey that had brought her here. From the humiliating moment at the bus stop to the confident, capable manager she had become. Every tear, every sleepless night, every anxious thought for Sophie had led to this. A life of dignity, stability, and unexpected joy. Christina, facing the consequences of her carelessness, began to withdraw, leaving Andrew and Emily to build a new, healthier family dynamic. It was a quiet victory for Emily, one that was no longer about wealth or status, but about self-respect, love, and resilience. Years later, the story of Emily Brooks, the housekeeper turned corporate manager and loving mother, was told as an example of courage, honesty, and the transformative power of trust. She had built a life from the ashes of false accusations, proving that integrity and perseverance could not only restore what was lost, but create something even stronger. And in the heart of Berlin, on a bench at Kurfürstendamm, where it had all begun, Emily often thought back with a quiet smile. One fateful day of despair had led to a lifetime of possibility. Through honesty, dedication, and courage, she had found not just justice and success, but love, family, and a future that had once seemed impossible.